It's very important to name things correctly inside your app. Here we have screens and controls, and they need to have meaningful names. Otherwise, for example, if I go to this home screen and see button 2 right here, I don't know exactly what this button is and what it does. I have to click on it to find in the screen where the button is. Same thing if I go to the screen and I want to select one element, one control, and what if there's something in front of it that doesn't let me select and I need to search in the tree view. And right now, how can I know where this information is, where this control is, if we have names that doesn't mean anything? So it's very important to rename things so you just look and you know what it is, as well as for searching. Imagine you want to search here, the button that's the new contact button. No, this one actually I just renamed it accidentally when I was trying to change the text. So imagine then we want to find this find contact button. So I will type find here and I don't find anything because that button doesn't have a meaningful name. Same for screens. Imagine all the screens have the screen 1, screen 2, screen 3 name. I will need to click one by one to find the desired screen. For the screens, we already gave good names, but for the controls, we still didn't rename them. There is one naming convention from Microsoft, and there is one article from Matthew Devaney that's a Microsoft MVP. He has a very great blog about powerapps, and he gives several tips about renaming things, renaming screens, controls, variables, collections, data sources, things that we are going to see in the future. I'll leave the link in the resources for this class, but let's take a look at the screen names and control names. For screen names, we need to have names that clearly describe the purpose of the screen. For this one, we already have, so loading screen and home screen. This screen one is just for draft, just to have our table here. We are not even going to use and even delete in the end of the app. So these two are the screens that we are working right now. So screen names are fine. You can read here better and see all the recommendations. And control names, we have some examples, and uh, he gives us some prefixes to put in front of each control. So let's see, for example, a button. He advises us to put btn in front of the name, and here in the top we have an example. For example, this is one button with a good naming, btn underscore order form underscore submit. This, just by reading this, I know what this button does. I know that that's a button that submits the order form. Form is one thing that we are going to learn in the future, but I know just by the name. Again here, Go home appointments. I know that's a gallery to show data, and it shows appointments of homes. So naming helps a lot on understanding what each element is. Let's follow his advice and start renaming our things based on this article. So for example here, let's go to the home screen and we have this first button that's the new contact button. So let's just rename to btn new contacts. Navigate. For example, that would be one example. We know that this button will navigate to the new contact screen. Usually, I don't put these underscores. I just put, for example, btn new contacts. I would do like this, and you can choose your standards and stick with it. I'm going to choose mine that I'm used to work. I put the prefix and I use this camel case that means the start of each letter has the capital letter, and I can understand better reading in this way than using underscores. So there is no a unique truth, and I'm choosing my standards, but I will follow his advices regarding the prefixes. This video is sponsored by the support of my subscribers who like and comment on the videos. This class is part of a full course I have on Udemy where I teach beginners how to build their first apps. So if you want to ensure lifetime access and see the entire course, I suggest you to join me on Udemy. If the course isn't for you, that's okay, but I kindly ask you to show your support by liking this video and subscribe to this channel. Your engagement means a lot to me and motivates me to continue creating valuable content like this. Now, let's get back to the class and continue learning together. For the second one, so let's rename to btn find contacts. Here to rename, I just did a double click in the tree view, but you could rename here also in the property pane. For the label, let's take a look at the label. What's the prefix? Is LBL. So in this case, LBL user name. And for the image, let's take a look. EMG. So EMG user picture. I know that we are going to have user pictures in other screens later to show the picture of each contact. So I'm going to also put here in the end home screen. So I know that's the user picture in the home screen. Now let's go to the loading screen. We have a spinner, we have a label and an image. Let's go with the image. So let's rename to EMG logo loading screen. And for the label, let me rename to LBL app name loading screen. Now for the spinner, I don't think it will be in the article because it's new. Let's see, yeah, it's not here. But I see that he's following a rule that gets the consonants for each word, the three first consonants, except for some compound words. So, but I'm going to use here SPN. So SPN from spinner loading screen. So it will be the spinner for the loading screen. Now we see everything is renamed. It's way better to just look here. It's easier to understand what each thing does. So even though I'm in the loading screen right now, imagine I want to edit something in the new context button for the home screen. I can see it here already and just click and go directly to it. This in the long run saves a lot of time. Now one last tip is imagine you have a design pattern for your company and you need to follow that design with the colors, borders, fonts, and everything else. So you need to customize some elements inside the app, such as we did here for the buttons. For example, we changed the borders. Imagine for a company we need to change and use border number 5, the radius 5 for all the elements. Then you just configure this button and you want to reuse it. You can have a screen just to put the elements you configured, and every time you need to insert a new button, for example, you can go and copy from that model. What I'm saying is, for example, you could go to new screen, create a blank screen, and just put here, for example, and just rename it to design elements screen, for example. And here you could have, for in this case, a copy of the button that you already configured. So I'm going to paste here this button. And you could have here some text inputs and everything you configured with the correct colors and configuration. And every time you need, you just come here and copy from here where everything is configured instead of inserting a new button and configuring from scratch. In this case, since we are not following any pattern for design, we are going to use the default elements based on the theme we chose. I'm going to delete this screen, but here it's something you can follow if you need. There are more advanced ways to do that, but for beginners, since you're just starting, you can use this one until you get more used with the platform. Given that, let's continue in the next class